7 o'clock. Is there a motion? to-
Move to open.
Second.
All those in favor, Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
J.R. Colby, yes. This is J.R. Colby, Chairman, Newbury Select Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tracy Blaze, Town Administrator.
Yes.
Julie O'Brien, Executive Administrator.
Yes.
Martha Taylor, Planning Director.
Yes.
John Lucy, Chief of Police.
Yes.
And Brian Winter, Town Council. I don't think we have Brian yet.
No, he'll be joining us later, Mr. Chairman.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda. Tonight, we have none. Good evening. This open meeting of the Newbury Select Board is being conducted virtually, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, in the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Newbury Select Board is convening by Zoom meeting link as posted on the agenda on the town's website. All of the materials for this meeting, except any executive session materials, are available on the website. We recommend the members and the public follow the agenda as posted on the website. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of board members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and be sure to state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in dialogue with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. The chairperson or vice person will afford the public comment for a period of 3 minutes and will be granted as follows. Participation will be sought through the raise hand function. For video conference participants, this function can be accessed by clicking on the participants option listed in the menu below the photo gallery. Hover your cursor in this area if you don't see it. A participant's window will open and display on the right. On the bottom of this participant area, you will see the list of phone and video participants, and on the bottom, you will see the ability to click on a button to raise hand. Ensure your name is displayed. You may rename by using the More function. Telephone participants can use their phone's keypad while in a Zoom meeting to raise hand by hitting *9. Those who have requested to be heard through the raise hand function will be heard in the order of which they are listed. The system lists in order by whom first hit the raise hand function. Please identify yourself by stating your name and address, and then your question or comment. You will be unmuted and your hand will be lowered when you have been given the floor for your questions. We will continue down the list of those in the raise hand column. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay. First item on the agenda, citizen communications. Do we have any raised hands, Tracy?
I do not see any raised hands, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We will move on to board and committee reports. Chairman's report, 1-17 for Julie O'Brien. One thing I want to address under my chairman's report. For a while, a rumor has been going around, and rumors can be fun and they can be damaging. But oftentimes rumors are untrue. This one revolves around changing the Byfield zip code. The first time someone brought this up to me,
What code?
I laughed, but evidently this rumor got some legs. I just want it to be clear that at no time did we ever look into changing Byfield zip code.
Oh,
And I don't even know that we would have the authority to do that. So I just wanted to mention that under the chairman's report, just to dispel a little myth. And as we go forward in our meetings, I plan on doing this a little more. Because, I mean, at times I hear something and I say, that's ridiculous, but if you're not in the loop, you really have no way to know better.
Thank you.
Any other board or committee reports? Do you see any?
Mr. Chairman, I just really quick, I have, I attended, I got reappointed to the MMA's Fiscal Policy Committee. And we had a first meeting today and they discussed the governor's budget and it's heading to the legislature. And we also discussed Chapter 70 funding. And I'm just looking forward to participating with this group.
Excellent. Good work, Alicia.
Thank you.
I know everything you learn in there can only help us.
Yeah.
All right, under grants, gifts, and donations, we have a donation from Next Era Energy LLC, a gift of $25,000 for the purchase of a replacement generator. Serve the police station. Is that correct, Chief Lucy?
That is correct.
All right, so excellent, good score there, and thank you to Next Era Energy Seabrook LLC. Could I have a motion to accept the gift of the generator?
Motion to accept the gift.
Second.
$5,000 for the generator.
I'll second it.
Boom.
Roll call vote, Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
could I please move that we send a thank you note since this, is this a gift? It's a gift. It's not a grant, correct? John?
That
oh,
is correct. Yes.
Yeah, so could we send a thank you note to them? I mean, I move that we send them a thank you note.
Second.
roll call vote, Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes. Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Do we need to take a vote to accept the gift? We do, correct?
I think you already did.
We just did.
Yeah.
Did we accept it? We got through it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Want to make sure we hit all the bases. Under new business, we have a business license, Robin Davies, DBA Parker River Dental, 3 Kent Way, general business.
Motion to accept Parker River Dental.
Second.
Any discussion? So roll call vote, Alicia Greco,
Yes. Mike
Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. We have a request for public property use, Byfield Newbury Baseball Softball League, Upper Green Field, High Road.
Motion to accept the softball league on the upper green.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, a little bit. One thing on the lower green, I'm sorry, the upper green one on High Road, it says 8 to 8. And I'm just saying, if there's a game going on, can they, let's say little kids getting together and playing a game, can they knock those little kids off the game if we've given them this permission? I mean, I don't know. It's like it's a 12-hour window we've given them. Can they just bump anyone that's there? Well, we've given them permission.
You mean, Michael, if the game is in process and
Let's
all
say
of a
there's some-
sudden
let's
it's
say
not
there's a
gonna
bunch of-
end till late, it's not gonna end till 8:30, so you don't want the game to end, you mean, right?
No, I'm just saying, my concern is, let's say a bunch of kids are playing baseball on a Sunday afternoon at 2.
Yeah.
And these people show up, okay?
Oh, I understand now.
And can they say, we've got permission to use this, you have to leave?
Yes, I think so.
They-
I mean,
they
you're
do.
thinking about talking about like a pickup game, if there was a pickup
Yeah,
game. with
right,
kids.
right. Yeah, because it's like, we've given them 12 hours, okay, on every day. I just think it's like I said, it would be nice if they could give us some blocks, okay? So other people say I can still use the green. That's all I'm saying.
Well, this is not the green, it's the field on the green. It's not the whole
Yeah.
green.
Right?
Yeah.
But where they play, where kids play. I mean,
Right,
they have football
right.
games, they have everything happen out there.
Have you seen an instance or heard of an instance where it's happened, where it's gotten,
No, but this is the first time I've seen the 8 to 8 time thing on a request. Maybe that's, it just caught my eye.
I mean, they've probably done it for so long, it's kind of an unwritten rule and people know when they're gonna have the games or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so we'll move to a vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yeah,
Jerry Heavy,
yes,
Jeff Walker,
Yes,
and J.R. Colby, yes. We have a second request for public property use, Byfield Newbury Baseball Softball League, Pearson Field, Lunt Street.
motion to accept the baseball softball league at the Pearson Field, Lunch Street.
second,
Discussion? Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
yes.
Jerry Heavy,
yes,
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. We would
Motion
need,
motion to have the chair sign the public property requests.
Second,
Business license too.
And
yes,
the,
and the business license.
thank you, Julie.
thanks, Julie.
Okay, roll call vote, Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes,
Jerry Heavy,
yes,
Jeff Walker,
Yes,
and J.R. Colby, yes. Now let's go back and do the Robin Davies, DBA Parker River Dental, 3 Kent Way, general business. This would be authorization to have the chair sign the business license.
motion to let
License.
the chairman sign the license.
second,
Second.
Roll call vote, Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes,
Jerry Heavy,
yes,
Jeff Walker,
yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. We have a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for spring 2021 annual town meeting. Martha, would you like to take it away?
Sure, I'd be happy to. As, as required under Mass General Law, any zoning amendments that are proposed to go before town meeting need to come to the select board and then be referred to the planning board for public hearing. So this is a request from the planning board to submit this proposed zoning amendment regarding special permits back to the planning board for public hearing in anticipation of recommending that it be included on the warrant for the spring 2021 town meeting. And this is being proposed actually at the recommendation of town council. We've got special permit regulations in specific bylaws within our zoning, such as solar, marijuana, wind, and various other ones, which lay out both the special permit granting authority as well as decision criteria and other procedural things for submitting those special permit applications. And we also have them for certain districts. As you recall, we've got one for the residential agricultural district, which lays out 5 decision criteria that need to be met. But for general special permits that are required under our table of use regulations, we actually don't have some of this in place. And so town council has recommended that we amend our Article 11 to include these criteria and provisions for putting conditions on special permits and the possibility of granting waivers and that sort of thing. So the planning board did take a unanimous vote to request that the select board refer it back to the planning board for public hearing.
Okay, any questions from the board?
And this is all special granting authorities, basically, Martha?
Right, right. So the table of use regulations specifies a special permit granting authority for certain uses, and where we have bylaws in place, those also do that. So this would be for any special permit for any special permit granting authority.
Okay.
That's where procedures haven't already been laid out in the bylaw.
Okay, Jerry?
yes. I have a couple of questions. First of all, so our voting, you're looking for the select board to give their imprimatur on this amendment, correct?
Basically, at this point, the board is only requesting that it be referred back to the planning board for public hearing as required by Mass General Laws, Section 48, or Chapter 48, Section 5. So this is not a request to approve this language, which may be amended through the public hearing process. And really the final vote from the select board would be to vote to include it on the warrant for the Springtown meeting. So this is just a referral, basically to allow us to have a public hearing on it.
Right. However, I would like to have some input on it, because my understanding and my reading of it is you're cutting out the prior section C in its entirety.
Yes, that was town council's recommendation to replace that with this.
And I have a huge problem with by doing that, because you're not allowing any public hearing. You're not allowing after the public hearing, presenting or issuing a special permit within 65 days. And it's also, there's no public hearing, there's no certified mail to the abutters. Also, the issue of waivers, it says, the waivers, I'm sorry, on the second page, waivers may be, grant waivers from the submission requirements should they find good cause for such waiver. I mean, that's just too vague, good cause. What's good cause? You know, do I need to, know the mayor of a town or something? It's just too, I mean, it's just too vague. And also the fees, are there any fees associated with special permits now?
Yes, there are.
And then why do you need a special section on fees? And also the problem I have with these fees, it says they may adopt reasonable administrative fees and technical review fees. Who's deciding what's reasonable? Is a rich man, what's reasonable to a rich man is a lot less reasonable to someone who's on a fixed income. So to me, it's too vague. And if they already have, fees included, I don't know why they need that. And I guess, I also, you've deleted the whole section that the Board of Selectmen may issue special permits for issues that are a matter of right. So once again, the Board of Selectmen has been cut out of this equation completely. So for these reasons, I'm not in favor of this special permit, this language, because it cuts out too much, especially the fact that there's no public hearing. So I would move that the language from the original Section C, that first sentence, from the original Section C, which says any special permit which shall hereafter be issued under this bylaw, whether by the selectmen, by the planning board, or by the zoning board of appeals, shall be issued only following a public hearing held within 65 days after the filing of a petition or application with said selectmen, planning board, or zoning board of appeals as appropriate, and provided that said applicant and/or petitioner has furnished written notice by U.S. mail, certified or registered, not less than 21 days prior to said public hearing, to all adjoining owners, abutters, and furnished evidence of such written notice to the selectmen, planning board, or zoning board of appeals as appropriate, a copy of which petition or application shall forthwith be given to the town clerk by the applicant. I mean, just giving a public hearing and notice to the abutters, I think that government and transparency requires this.
Jerry, do you have any questions for Martha?
May I address that particular item?
Why don't I kick it off with one question? Martha, does this strip the Board of Selectmen of any authority that they currently have?
No. That's not the intention. I mean, the special permit granting authorities that are already on the books would remain in
Okay.
the books.
So,
I-
Martha, I think I want to hear what you had to say.
So first of all, in terms of the process, public hearing, notification of abutters, and so on and so forth, that's actually laid out in Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Sections 9 and 11, I believe. So that would be covered, but I do agree that some reference to that, it would make sense to put some reference to that back in here if we don't include that language verbatim. So, I would like to discuss that with town council. These are all concerns that actually could be brought up at the public hearing in terms of any additions to language.
So I have a question on that, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
When is the planning board planning on taking this up at which meeting? Do you have a date yet?
So because of the process, they haven't set a date yet because they were waiting for this to be referred back to the board for hearing. The
Mhm.
hearing itself will need to be noticed twice in the paper, the first one no less than 14 days before the hearing date. So, checking the calendar, we'll have to set that, but it would be in April.
So is it appropriate
For the
to have all Jerry's concerns that she just brought up, have her attend that public hearing and bring them up then? Is that the appropriate time? Because that's what I was planning on attending to the public hearing and participate that way.
Yeah.
Is that how the process works?
Yes, I mean, that would be certainly very appropriate to do.
But why should the selectmen do that if they don't agree with the language in this bylaw? Why do that? Why not get the language changed now instead of waiting for a public hearing?
And what I could do is take the recommendations, the suggested changes back to the planning board so that when this gets advertised for public hearing, that some of those amendments would be made.
Well,
But isn't it more transparent to do it all in the public hearing process?
And that's technically what the public hearing process is for, to get any changes made in the language.
So, I don't know. I guess it's just a question of process. I understand Jerry's concerns. I do, and I think they're justified. But I think that it needs to be done in the public hearing process. That's what I think, instead of behind closed doors.
Is this not an open meeting,
Public-
Alicia? Is this?
No, this is, but if we meet with town council
No.
I'm sorry, Mike, just let me finish this one
Go
thing.
ahead.
If we meet with town council in outside of the public hearing process, I don't think that's appropriate.
Mike?
I think my personal opinion is we should have town council rewrite this, okay, with Jerry's recommendations, and then we'll pass it on to but to do it now, I agree with Jerry. I don't think that we should be forwarding this to the planning board with this many questions. So have the town council take this meeting tonight, look at Jerry's concerns, and then rewrite and give us the rewritten content, then we can pass it on to the planning board.
Martha, is it a total rewrite, or is it like one of the ones where if we had both copies, there'd be yellow highlights of what was changed?
Certainly there would be that. There would be, what's being stricken out and what's being
I
amended.
mean, that would be more clear to everyone if people wanted to discuss that before we passed it on, maybe.
My one concern is by delaying it, we may miss the opportunity of getting this on the Springtown warrant at all. I think certainly changes can be made to incorporate language which addresses the select board's concerns.
Well, I filed the motion, or I moved to have that language included. I mean, quite frankly, if you're concerned about a timeline, why not keep the section C as it is and include your concern is that the criterion, so instead of striking all of section C, include your criterion and your conditions. Those are the two big changes that you seem to want to be able to make. And that would allow you to have your cake and eat it too. If we kept section C as it reads now, and we added the criteria and the condition.
I don't understand why it's imperative to amend this before it comes to a public. I guess I'm confused by that. To me, the workshop would be the time to changes and have the discussion.
Well, because we're the Board of Selectmen, and we shouldn't be sending things on to other boards if we're not satisfied with it.
Agreed.
How about, will this work for a timeline? If we, and this may be what Jerry motioned, if we refer this back to the public back to the planning board for a public hearing, and have her comments reviewed by town council, and have town council attend this public hearing and have her explain him or her explain the rationale as to why it was included or why it wasn't included, and then have the dialogue at the public hearing for the essence of time. Is that what you moved, Jerry?
No, I moved tonight that we put the language that provides a public hearing and notice to any of the affected abutters, which is what the original language contains. I think transparency in government requires.
Martha,
yes.
Public hearing
Martha,
and the
am I
abutters-
correct in understanding from the document that this wouldn't stop abutters from being notified?
It would not. It's a requirement under Mass General Law.
But not our bylaws, So why was it important to have it in the original section C, and why cut it out now?
And I can certainly send it back to the planning board with the request that section C remain as part of it.
Well, then I would move that section C remain a part of it, and the additions would be you add the criterion and the conditions. I would move that we add section 3 criterion and section 5. You'd have to renumber them. So that's what I would move. Keep the original section C and put criterion and conditions.
I'd second that.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I do. I want, so if we move this to the planning board with Jerry's recommendations, what does that do? Does that would incorporate that to the public hearing, and we can pick up this discussion for continuation there?
Right, so that language would be incorporated in any version that was available for the public to view before the public hearing. So
I mean,
if that makes sense.
So
Jerry is just asking to put back in some of the stuff that had been taken out. Is that what I?
well, if we look
Jerry,
at this,
is that what you're asking?
I'm asking for the original section C as the bylaw now reads to
Yep.
remain the same.
Right.
And add to the original section C, the section about criterion from the new ordinance or bylaw, and also the conditions. Because that's the real change.
I mean, I don't think that's probably antagonistic to thought, but maybe we can make a motion to ask town council if that is antagonistic to the intent, if we do it that way. Because, I'm
so
okay.
does Jerry and you, I don't have the original bylaw in front of me, I'm
That's what-
sorry.
Hard. That's what makes it hard.
Right, so, but is the purpose, number one, under C, the purpose and intent, is that the same paragraph as in the original?
Purpose? No, the original, the original doesn't have, the original says, section one,
Under-
procedures. And then it talks about, the special permit, issued after a public hearing.
Right.
The original section C does not have any of the criteria or the conditions. And I think from my conversation earlier with Ms. Taylor, I think that's the crux of the matter, what the planning board wanted, the addition of criteria and conditions, because this section C is silent on the criterion that they use in issuing special permits, and also writing up conditions of orders. So there was a motion validly made and seconded.
Anyone have any other
Can you,
comments on the motion?
can you read the motion again?
What I have is Jerry moved to have the planning board keep the original section C and then add in criterion and conditions.
Yes,
Is that correct?
that is correct.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
I'm gonna say yes on this one.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes,
Jeff Walker,
Yes,
and J.R. Colby, no. Okay, so where do you want to go from now? Are we ready to approve?
I don't, I'd like to, before I approve it, I'd like to see it, Martha, can we just get it back for our next meeting in that form, or is it gonna be a timeline crunch?
I think that would keep it from hitting town meeting, I believe.
Yeah,
Oh, I think we need to move to the public hearing, and then we change it, we can have it, town council attend there, and then we can have a discussion at the public hearing.
and what would be sent to the public meeting would be what we just voted on.
Yes.
Yeah, and then town council can be there, and if there's any concerns that they have, then they can raise them then, and then we can have a rewrite of this bylaw at the public hearing, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's transparent.
Okay, is that a motion?
Don't even
Yeah,
think.
so I move that we refer this bylaw amendment to the planning board as amended.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
As opposed to what other rules, Alicia?
I think as opposed to not rewording it before it goes to the planning board in public hearing.
No, we already moved to change the language, and now I'm just moving it as we amended this to the planning board for a public hearing.
Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, thank you.
And Jeff seconded it.
Okay,
And then we can pick this, and my thought is, excuse me, I'm sorry, Chairman Colby, but my thought is that we can pick this dialogue up again at the public hearing.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
yes.
Jeff Walker,
yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. All right, thank you, Martha.
thank you very much.
Hey, John, are you ready for our Emergency Management Director update?
I am. Hey, as of February 18th, the DPH reports that Newbury is continuing to see a decrease in positive cases of COVID-19. Newbury's classification remains at green. This status is based on 15 total new positive cases utilizing the 14-day look back. We're right on the cusp of being gray, which is the best you can be. That starts at 14, so we're doing great. We got to keep on doing what we're doing. The DPH 14-day look back standard is reporting that 1,061 tests were administered in our community. with the 15 tests resulting in positive. This is a 1.41% positive count, which is slightly down from the 1.72 positive count reported at our last meeting. Newbury continues to be ready for administration of the vaccines to the now 65 plus range, and also residents with eligible phase 2 medical conditions. These conditions are listed on the websites, that we have links on our webpage, the town's webpage, the fire department's webpage. So it's very readily available to see what those classifications are, those eligible conditions are. The regional distribution plan is in place and awaiting vaccines. That's the problem we're having right now, is getting vaccines to our clinics. As of this date and time of this report, there have been none awarded, and every week our health agent is requesting 3,000 doses to facilitate the clinic. So we will continue to make their weekly requests. Until then, we're asking everybody to please utilize the state's websites for access to the vaccine. And these links, again, will be posted on our websites. In the information as it arrives will be updated on the websites. So hopefully we'll be progressing to more people getting the vaccines that they need. I also want to say that I attended a virtual meeting with the area health agents and emergency responders this afternoon, and it's an amazing effort regionally being undertaken right now as we speak to facilitate our clinics and take care of our local populace, especially the vulnerable populace. So they're tirelessly working, to try to get the state to move on facilitating local clinics and local agencies to facilitate, the distribution of the vaccines. As that progresses, we'll keep everybody notified. Also, the state is providing information by dialing 211. It's a little bit clunky, but it works. You have to work through some prompts, but it does get you the information you need if you don't have access to the web or to the websites. That would be our report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Lucy.
Thank you.
Tracy, are you ready for the administrator's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Council on Aging has sent out their surveys, and we have some drop-off locations available. The police station at 7 Morgan Ave, the COA, there's a temporary mailbox set up outside their offices. Pitta Hall has a mailbox established on their deck area, and they can also be delivered to the Byfield Water Department. They have a mail slot on their door. Draft number 2 of the COA Space Needs Report has been provided to the Expansion Committee, and they're going to be meeting this week, I believe tomorrow, to discuss that. The basketball court bids, we took our bids last week. Unfortunately, they came in significantly higher than what we had appropriated at town meeting. So the Newbury Rec Committee will be meeting later this week to discuss possible alternatives and how they may wish to proceed. On February 4th, I received notification from firefighter Rich Lucius that they have been accepted into the IAFF as a local union. So with the board's approval, I will be posting the following. In accordance with General Law, Chapter 150E, Section 4, and 456 CMR 14.06(5), the town of Newbury hereby gives notice that it intends to voluntarily recognize, without an election, the International Association of Firefighters as the exclusive bargaining representative for a bargaining unit consisting of all full-time firefighters below the rank of chief, excluding all confidential, supervisory, managerial, and casual employees. That notice has to be posted for a period of 20 consecutive days. And then in addition, we'll send it out to all of the affected employees. Once that time has lapsed, that 20 days has lapsed, then we can begin negotiations with their union. They wanted to make a point of letting everybody know that it had nothing to do with the current administration, the select board here. They just want to seek long-term job security. They've been talking about it for many years, but they've just been recently been recognized. We received notification from the state, Chapter 90 funds this year will be in the amount of $269,580. I did want to provide you an update on the Southern Boulevard flooding that we had discussed earlier. The survey work should be completed by the end of this week. Then the next step is the installation of monitoring wells, which will help us to determine whether, well, first of all, where the groundwater is. Is there groundwater? Is there salt water? What are the soils there? That'll give us kind of the foundation for our next steps. We're working with Horsley Witten to try and determine whether or not we'll need to engage a coastal geologist as well. And ultimately, we're looking just to find a long-term engineering solution for the problems that they're facing out there. Let's see, and that, also, if I could have time on the next agenda that we could start going over the first draft of the warrant, that would be great.
Okay.
That's all I.
Thank you, Tracy.
Chairman Colby. Chief Lucy has his hand raised.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I got to circle back a little bit. I didn't know where the appropriate time was to bring this up. I didn't know if it was old business that would be revisiting or if it should be part of my EMD report. But I did want to update the board on what's going on with the emergency egress project that we're working towards as it relates to the emergency egress for the residents on the north of the center area. I just wanted to make it known that on Monday, May 22nd, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., we're going to have a public workshop on this matter, and we'll be discussing, what we think might work, and you'll be listening to the public on what they think. But it'll be a public workshop at that point. And then the next day, on the 23rd, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we are going to do a site visit. And obviously everybody here is invited to that and encouraged. Hopefully we'll see you there. But we were going to have the site visit prior to the workshop, but we decided that it'd be much more productive to have the workshop first, so everyone knows what we're talking about. Everyone can kind of weigh in on their thoughts, and then the site itself will make more sense. So that's what we're looking at, and I just want to make sure the board was aware of that.
Chief, I think you misspoke. You said the date was May 22nd.
Did I? I'm so sorry. March. I thought I said March, but March.
Yeah.
It is March. Thank you for correcting me if I was wrong. Yep.
May I inquire who's giving the workshop and what's the topic?
The topic is the emergency egress project. That we discussed the last meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And who is the guest speaker, or who is the expert?
The conservation will be commission will be represented. I'll be represented. The fire department will be there. Anybody that has any direction or insights will be there. Town council, I believe, will be there. Tracy might want to weigh in. Anybody else that might be there?
Yeah, the town, we hired Hughes Environmental,
Yes.
Arc Engineering, and Oak Engineering, our consultants. They will be in attendance as well.
And may I inquire? Is the public invited to this workshop? I take it it's by Zoom, right?
Yes, yes, it is. The abutters have been given a letter, and all the contact information, the login information has been included in that. And myself and Chief Janburn are listed as contact persons if there's any questions or concerns prior to, or any direction, if they have any problems accessing, whatever.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, under correspondence, we have an email from David Coleman regarding Southern Boulevard flooding, which was just discussed. Hopefully, these concerns are going to begin to be addressed. Final answer here. We have an email regarding DMF's shellfish plant opening and rainfall closure updates. From February 2nd, we have an email regarding DMF shellfish plant opening for Merrimack River dated February 3rd. We have a letter from Xfinity regarding changes to Xfinity TV services. And we have a letter from Mass DOT regarding MBTA forging ahead service proposal environmental notification form. Any meeting updates?
I have one. The budget, the Veterans Committee met Thursday night to go over the budget for 22. We passed the budget. Newbury's assessment's gonna be $33,305. That's up slightly, but considering everything, they also, at the meeting, they give us a number of veterans, and I'm trying to find up right here. Newbury has one of the highest number of veterans of all the towns. Georgetown's at 363. Newbury's at 312, then Raleigh's at 295. So we got a lot of veterans and a lot of good things are happening.
Good. Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Chairman, there is a DCC meeting Thursday night to go over the Triton budget. Did we want to ask the superintendent to come and our school committee reps to come give a presentation to us regarding the school budget? I think they're doing one in, I think Salisbury asked for one and Raleigh asked for one. Do you think Newbury?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'd be in favor.
If so, we'd have to, add them to our next agenda.
I have no problem adding them to the agenda. Does that seem like a good idea to everybody?
Yes.
All right, I will work on that. Any other meeting updates? Warrants to sign tonight. I would need a motion to allow the chair to sign.
Motion to let the chair sign the warrants.
Second,
Okay, and also a vote to approve the warrants. I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Tonight we have executive session, and we will not,
Mr. Colby, before we get into
Yes.
executive session, may I ask Ms. Blaze a follow-up on some old business? A couple of weeks ago, you indicated, you made an announcement regarding the food pantry having to find another location to work out of. And you made an announcement and you were trying to help. Did you ever get anywhere on that issue?
The food pantry sent a letter under correspondence requesting to use the fire station on Morgan Ave. And that wasn't a possible location for them to utilize. I've had no conversations with them since then.
Okay, thank you.
pursuant to Mass General Law, Section 21A3, I move we enter into executive session to discuss strategy regarding litigation to a Seacoast Canine LLC and Jennifer Ford versus Town of Newbury Zoning Board of Appeals. Land Court 21-00067 concerning property at 35 Downfall Road, and subject to the chairperson's declaration that holding of a discussion on the matter in open session would be detrimental to the public interest and would have a detrimental effect on the town's litigation position. I'll vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Okay, and a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. All right, good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Right.
Good night.